Welcome to the Limelight podcast. I'm your host for today, Jeff Grogan. Today we're talking about how building trust, authority, and expertise with a mostly unseen audience online can boost your website's rankings and search results. The first term that comes to my mind when discussing trust and authority is thought leadership. Thought leadership is the process of establishing your authority as an expert in your specialty through content. It can be written, videos, or even a podcast like this one, but it needs to be consistent and ideally across multiple platforms. Becoming a thought leader in whatever medical specialty can be tough and slow, but with consistent quality content, you can build an audience that will help propel your practice's SEO through the roof. As an example, a previous client I worked with took nearly 2 years to see incredible results for a small practice that frankly doesn't have any other reason to be performing as well as it is. In the case of this client, just 2 or 3 really well-written blogs made a huge difference for their entire site. On the contrary, bad content, misspellings, misleading information, or just hard to read content can tank your rankings, even if it was great before.
Hi, I'm Julia Backus, but you can call me Jules. I'm a marketing specialist here at DLM, but my real specialty is public relations. I'm hoping to bring my expertise in communications on an earned media front to my role, as well as my experience working with influencers to DLM's service areas. Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Limelight podcast, produced by the team at Digital Limelight Media. Each episode, we bring our team's training and expertise to you to help your practice get better and more successful with easy to implement tips and best practices. We've got a great show for you today, so let's get started.
It's time now to introduce our guest today, Ryan Rogers. Ryan is a partner here at DLM and oversees our SEO strategy. Ryan, my question for you today, as we're talking about increasing trust for higher rankings, is what makes people trust a website?
This is really something that started gaining a lot of attention when Google released their Medic update. I want to say it was back in 2018. And with this Medic update at the time, there were just a ton of websites that were giving a lot of false medical information. And the people that were running these websites, they were by no means a physician, a doctor, probably didn't even have any medical education. And so what was happening back then is, a lot of people, they were taking this advice. They were getting hurt, sometimes even worse, they were dying. They were doing a lot of really dumb things. And it was one of those things that Google, a lot of the different search engines decided to crack down on. And so it was very important for Google to make a lot of different tweaks to their algorithm just to make sure that information wasn't out on the web because, maybe they were really the ones that should have been liable for that since they were serving all of this bad information to a large user base. The medical industry as a whole, they just got slammed. I mean, in my opinion, over the 12 years that I've been doing this is one of the biggest updates that I think I had ever seen. And so it's one of those things that we did a lot of different tests and there's a lot of different things that have been working really, really well in terms of overcoming that. And it is one of those things that it's also been it's been a little more difficult to rebound from that, as well as really showing Google that you're an authority figure within that space. Now, what I'm just going to talk about real quick is just some of the different things that I've noticed that have really worked, show that you are an expert in your industry, that you do have a lot of authority on the subject and that you really know what you're talking about. And so, number one, when it comes to the medical industry, one thing you want to do is you want to cite your sources. So if you have a page, maybe it's about breast augmentation, maybe it's about acne, it can be about anything that's medically related. But what a lot of people do wrong is they put in all this information, but then at the very end, the easiest part, in my opinion, is just citing some different sources, from government websites, just about where you got this information from. Maybe it's even like board profiles, but that way it at least kind of gives a little more substance to the overall page. And it's something that Google can easily see, they can easily crawl, and they get a better understanding of what that page is about and why they should trust it. You can also add an authorship box. Who's the person that really wrote that topic? Who's the person that should be getting credit? And who's the person, are they someone that you should even trust? Is it going to show like a physician's image, or is it going to show some blank, maybe letter or something to where, you really might not have as much trust within that particular subject? And so I feel like all of these things can really help. Next, same thing with the authorship boxes. I'm always a big fan of schema. And so like with an authorship box, you can have different schemas that you're putting on these pages. And so for instance, one that I use all the time is the physician schema. What it does is, again, you want it to all the information with the physician schema, such as, the physician's name, the medical specialty, the address, the location, the different board certifications or membership profiles that they're a part of. You want all of that information within their schema because, again, what it's going to do is it's going to tell Google that this is who this is, and they're going to be able to verify to say, okay, we should trust the content from that person. Like, this is the simplest thing. Just take credit for what you've accomplished, and Google will reward that. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but a lot of times it does often get overlooked. And again, this is something that I don't expect a lot of doctors to think about, but marketing companies that don't bring this up, they're doing a terrible job because it's that important. And then most importantly, in my opinion, acquiring high authority relevant links. That's also something that goes a very long way in terms of really getting that authority in Google's eyes, which is one of the most important things that you can do. These are some of the most important things that in my opinion, a physician can do right out of the gate if they really want to focus on, expertise, authority, and trust within Google's eyes and really be able to rank highly for a lot of the medical content.
So it seems like it comes down to links that both bots and people can read and follow, and basic information about the person creating the content.
These days, it's impossible to keep track of every lead your practice receives without a robust customer resource management system that tracks not only what procedure they had, but also where they first learned about your practice. Our CRM, built within DLM Insight, integrates with most major EMRs to track every lead from calls, advertisements, and your website, all the way down to how much money they paid to your practice. Get new revenue insights with DLM CRM. Contact us to find out how you can start reaping the benefits of a CRM built for medical practices today.
A new segment we've created for this season of the Limelight podcast is a 5-minute deep dive where our guests give us as much information on our subject as possible in the time permitted. Today, our topic is trust and authority in terms of search engine optimization. So, Ryan, my question for you is, what are the key indicators of trust we can actually measure?
How I look at it is SEO can be broken up really into 3 different categories. And I mean, if we wanted to take this into subcategories, we really could. But those categories are on-page, off-page, and local. All 3 of these play a critical role in the overall success of ranking within the search engine. And to kind of give you a little more substance on each one, on-page is great just because it's something that we have complete control over. If you think about it, there's a lot of things in life that you don't have complete control over. But when it comes to SEO, the on-page is one of those things to where it's one of the most important things within the Google algorithm. And it's also something that we can really modify on our end in order to really explode those rankings. The first piece that I would say that's super important from an on-page side of things is really going to be the content. When it comes to like really, I guess, getting the most of your content, number one, you want to make sure that the subject is topically relevant. And so what I mean by that is what's the main seed keyword? And, is the entire niche as a whole, is it going to be relevant to that particular topic? So really starting with topical relevancy. So like if you're a plastic surgeon, you should have different pages, on breast augmentation, tummy tuck, liposuction. But if you're a medical spa, instead of having just a page on dermal fillers, you should really go out and list the neurotoxins as well as the specific dermal fillers. All of that, what it's doing is it's really, you can think of it almost as a tree. You got your main tree trunk, which is plastic surgery, and then you have all these different branches, which are all the different procedures. And then all of those different procedures can also be broken down into a lot of other more specific and refined keywords. And, what Google does is if you bring out the keyword shepherd, let's just say shepherd, what does that really mean? Well, there's a breed of dog that's like that. There's also herders that are like that. And so what Google wants to do is they look for certain keywords within each of those to have a better picture of what we're talking about as a whole, so that they can identify that this article is about a breed of dogs, or this article is about, a shepherd that's in the field, with cattle. And so that's really why topical relevancy is so important. Now, the next thing, making sure that everything's keyword rich. Again, you want a lot of these different keywords so that Google can build that really big picture of what this article is about, and be more confident that what their user is searching for is actually getting delivered to that person. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just have all these, plastic surgery San Francisco plastic surgeon, dump keywords like that, just because it doesn't read well, and people are really interested in the subject matter. So you want to give something of value. The next thing, is I would say it needs to be at least 500 words. I mean, honestly, the more, the merrier, but I would say like 500 is probably the bottom tier. And it's one of those things to where that's also changed over the years. So like in the beginning when I was doing SEO, I mean, just having like 100 words, you were fine. But what I do notice is the more words, the more keyword opportunities, the more relevancy and trust that Google can build from it. And I mean, I'd probably say the sweet spot's right around 1,000, but at a minimum, I would at least, make sure that it's 500 words. And then, I mean, going above and beyond that is, if you can work in images, that's always going to help. Making sure that the alternative text is keyword rich. And that it's funny, so many people focus on the alt text, but they don't necessarily focus on the image name. And the image name is a lot more important than the alt text, because once you name an image, it's kind of hard to go back and rename that image, but you can easily update the alt text. And lastly, I would say is really internal links, just making sure that they're pointed to the appropriate pages, making sure, that we're getting a lot of different keywords within those anchor texts. Yeah, I guess I've kind of gotten carried away on content, which I'm sure you could have done, Jeff. The other things is really click-through rate. Super important. If someone types in your keyword, you want to make sure that they're clicking on you. If they click on your search result, that's going to be a good signal to Google. If they type in that keyword and don't click on you, it's going to be a bad thing to Google. And so having really good meta titles, meta descriptions that engage it or help increase clicks is important. The overall time on websites. So again, going back to user experience and website speed, that's also going to be helpful. So those are some of the on-page factors that I think are very, very important. The off-page factors, again, are also going to be very important, which some of the main off-page things that I think about are obviously backlinks. You want to have good backlinks. Also, if you're ranking really good, you're naturally going to get bad backlinks. And so what you're going to want to do is disavow the bad backlinks and really focus on getting good backlinks. Now, again, you can get them manually, which is reaching out to other sources and trying to get like a guest blog post, which again, Google frowns upon that. They only frown upon it because they know it works. Or again, you can naturally get some of these links just by having really good content. Right after that is reviews. So, I mean, reviews is something that, if you're in the medical space, you have to have good reviews. People, they'll find you, they'll qualify you by looking at your reviews, and then they're going to make that decision of who they're going to have a consultation for. And again, if your reviews are good, they have no problem paying like a consultation fee, even substantial ones. If your reviews are bad, they're probably not going to waste the time coming in. And so it is something that, again, it's just another piece to the overall puzzle of success. Then finally, social media, you want to make sure that your social media profiles are buttoned up, that they're engaging for, I guess, more younger people. The other thing would be brand mentions, just really making sure that you have a strong brand and a strong image out there, which again, kind of goes hand in hand with reviews. The last side of SEO is really the local side. When I think of local, I always think of just like the different maps listings. Everyone's super focused on Google Business, which I highly recommend that you should be. But, there's also Bing Places, there's also Apple Maps, and in certain cities, as much as I hate this platform, Yelp is also available. Finally, with local in general, getting good reviews on these different websites, replying to the reviews on these different websites, making posts from these different profiles, and then also, making sure that the address and everything is 100% the same. So I know I'm probably rambling on at this point, but I mean, really, all of these items are super important in terms of building the overall authority and trust within Google's eyes.
Great. Thanks for that, Ryan. On page, off page, local. That's what you need to know. It's been a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but we appreciate your insight, Ryan.
Advertising in the digital space is more than banner ads and sponsored search results. With the explosion in popularity of podcasts and other audio-only entertainment, more people than ever are paying attention to audio ads. With DLM's audio marketing service, we can help you produce an audio advertisement and then target leads on the podcasts and streaming services they care about most. Learn more by contacting your marketing specialist today.
What I typically recommend is when doing a kickoff SEO meeting, we touch on a lot of different items, and there's very specific ones that we're going through and we're also checking off. And really during this meeting, it's where we have our to-do list of different items. And we also give the client a to-do list of certain items that they want to check off. And if we can get that information back from the client, it really opens up the floodgates to really help us hit the ground running right from the start. And it helps us knock out a lot of really quick wins. Really that first meeting is where we build a lot of the trust with the client. I mean, it's always first introduction, for myself with the client. But then right after that, there's also some other quick wins that I like to knock out, especially if they have an existing site. Going through, updating the meta titles, the meta descriptions, making sure the main city is in those. Also making sure that we're setting it up for high click-throughs. It's something to where right out of the gate, we should see a lot of improvement in terms of organic ranking. Next, a lot of times, like with existing sites, people just haven't really done a great audit of the overall redirects that were built. And so at the end of the day, sometimes we'll get a client, their website's 20 years old. Guess what? They might have had 3 or 4 websites during that time. And, the old links, they may have garnished some really good authority links from the Huffington Post and some of these other websites. What ends up happening is there's not a redirect in place that's redirecting people from that super old link to the current new link. And so that's always a big audit that I like to do from the very beginning, because again, it passes a lot of this additional authority that was built in the past, and it really helps improve the overall rankings. And so that's always another quick thing that I take a look at. Fixing the website speed. The website speed is going to help people stay engaged longer. It's going to help improve the overall user experience, which is very important. And then really improving upon the internal links. This is something that it blows my mind, because a lot of times people like there'll be websites that they don't have any internal links. Otherwise, people have just done a really half-assed job with the internal links. And it's something to where, again, it's a quick win. You go in there, you update these, you add some different anchor text to them, and you can really explode those. And so overall, these are really the quick wins that I think of when a new client comes on that I like to just knock out from the very beginning, because typically you'll see really quick results, and clients love quick results, and they like to know that the investment that they're making, they're starting to see the fruits of our labor as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I was also thinking about a lot of those things you're talking about, those meta titles, redirect issues, like things that are actively hurting a website. If you can fix those quickly, obviously that's going to be a great win. So something that came to mind was, as you're doing these quick wins, also creating a long-term plan, maybe a content audit to see, all right, which are our worst performing pages across your site? Which are the procedures you care most about? Let's prioritize those, put those on the front end so that they can start getting the long-term value quicker. It is still going to take a while, but at least those high value pages are going to be on the front end of the process as it starts to come up when we continue working in the future. And just making that strategy clear at the front end, that this is going to be an investment, not just month over month, but year over year. In my experience, it does take at least a year for things to really be solidly improved when you have to have a good SEO strategy through that process.
Yeah, 100%, Jeff. When I say quick wins, usually in the SEO game, things really aren't quick, but just right out of the floodgates, quick can be 3 months. And, meta titles and all that goes a long ways in terms of helping get us, I guess, on track as quickly as possible. And like you said, updating existing content, you're never doing anything wrong. You're always, especially in the medical industry, any updates Google really likes to see, because again, if you have someone with let's just say a page about Botox and it's 3 years old and yours was updated within the last month, you're going to have an edge in Google's eyes because they want to deliver the most relevant, up-to-date information as possible to their user base.
Thanks for joining me today, Ryan. It's been fun talking to you, and I'm looking forward to having you back.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. This was really a lot of fun. I probably talked a little too much, but hey, I nerd out on this stuff.
From all of us here at DLM, thank you for listening to the Limelight podcast. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. If you have any questions or comments about today's topic, we're always available to answer them if you email info@dlmconversion.com. Or you can reach out to our team by filling out a contact form on our website, dlmconversion.com. Catch you next time.